former President Donald Trump, now serving as U.S. President, has unveiled a 20-point plan aimed at ending the war in Gaza and has issued a firm, public warning to Hamas to accept the proposal within days. Otherwise, he says consequences will follow. At the same time, Israel has tightened a siege around Gaza City, issuing final evacuation warnings and intensifying ground and air operations. Humanitarian agencies report access problems and suspended operations in parts of Gaza amid mounting civilian suffering. This piece summarizes the latest developments, the key elements of the U.S. proposal and warning, and the immediate regional and humanitarian fallout. AP News Plus for Al Jazeera, Plus for Reuters, Plus for what Trump proposed and what his warning means on September 29th to 30th, 2025. President Donald Trump publicly unveiled a 20-point plan intended to produce an immediate end to the fighting in Gaza if accepted by both sides. The plan, circulated by the White House and published in full by major outlets, links a ceasefire and hostage releases 2 steps, including the disarmament of Hamas and a series of security and governance conditions for Gaza. The administration has framed the plan as an ultimatum with a fast timetable, the White House said. Hamas had 3 or 4 days to respond, and the president warned that refusal would carry severe consequences. Al Jazeera Plus won the language of the public warning has been unusually stark. Trump's comments, including characterizations that there would be a very sad end if Hamas rejects the plan, are intended to push mediators and Hamas toward an acceptance that would secure the immediate release of hostages and halt major Israeli operations. U.S. officials have also signaled that Israel would enjoy robust American backing to continue military efforts if Hamas refuses. Reuters and other wire services have framed this as an attempt to apply diplomatic pressure by pairing an offer of terms with the threat of continued military action. Reuters Plus One military situation on the ground, Gaza City tightening and evacuation. Notices while the diplomatic clock ticks, Israeli forces have intensified operations around Gaza City. Israeli defense officials have described moves to tighten the siege by expanding control of a military corridor and capturing buffer zones that encircled the city. Israel's defense minister and military communications have issued what they called last chance warnings for residents to evacuate southward. Those who remain are being labeled as supporters of militants, a designation that has significant legal and humanitarian consequences on the ground. Humanitarian organizations report the escalation has produced dire access problems and rising civilian casualties. Yahoo News Canada plus two multiple outlets, including the Yahoo piece you provided for reference, describe the same dynamic: heavier bombardment, restricted humanitarian movement, and the suspension of some relief operations. Notably, the International Committee of the Red Cross pausing activities in certain parts of Gaza City because of security risks. The combination of evacuation orders and tightened access risks mass displacement and blocks the delivery of food, water, fuel, and medicine to those who remain. Yahoo News Canada plus one U.S. posture beyond the plan, backing regional partners and security commitments beyond the 20-point plan and public warnings. The Trump administration has taken other high-profile steps that demonstrate a shifting U.S. posture in the region. On October 1, 2025, the White House issued an executive action signaling that any attack on Qatar, a key regional interlocutor and host to U.S. facilities, would be viewed as a threat to U.S. security, a move described publicly as a protective guarantee for Qatar. That action followed a reported Israeli strike that killed multiple people in Qatar and led to urgent diplomacy. The executive step underscores how Washington is tying broader regional security guarantees to the Gaza crisis, a signal to both states and non-state actors that the U.S. will act to defend partner interests, even while pressing Hamas on its response. AP News plus one: how Hamas is responding and what mediators say as of October 1st. Reporting indicates Hamas leaders were reviewing the U.S. proposal. Some regional actors, including Egypt, Jordan, and Gulf states, have signaled varying degrees of openness to elements of the plan, or at least to mediation. That could bring about an immediate ceasefire tied to hostage releases. Officials close to mediating channels have said Hamas was evaluating the terms but had not publicly accepted them. Some in Gaza and among Hamas allies remain critical of the demands to disarm and of any arrangement that does not include a clear political pathway for Palestinians. Reuters plus one analysts note the bargaining calculus is complicated. Hamas faces internal political constraints about surrendering arms or authority in Gaza, while Israel and its allies are demanding strict security assurances. and the U.S. warning aims to shrink the time and space for such internal debate. The risk is that if Hamas refuses, the U.S.-backed Israeli campaign could intensify before any humanitarian pause can be secured. Reuters +1 humanitarian impact. What agencies say humanitarian agencies are raising alarm? The reported tightening of the siege around Gaza City has led to interruptions of relief convoys, medical evacuations, and essential services. The Red Cross reported suspending operations in parts of Gaza City due to the ferocity of the offensive, and other NGOs warn of acute shortages of food, clean water, fuel, and medical supplies across northern Gaza. International law experts emphasize that forced evacuations do not relieve warring parties of responsibilities to protect civilians. The mass movement of people under fire is particularly dangerous and can worsen humanitarian catastrophe. Yahoo News UK +1 casualty numbers cited in on-the-ground reporting are rising. Independent verification is difficult in active combat zones, but multiple outlets report dozens killed in recent strikes and sustained civilian harm in densely populated areas. The UN and humanitarian NGOs have repeatedly called for protected humanitarian corridors and guaranteed access demands that are becoming more urgent as military pressure increases. The Guardian +1 regional and international reactions. The Trump plan has elicited mixed international responses. Some Arab states and regional leaders have welcomed the diplomatic effort as a potential avenue for a ceasefire and hostage returns, while others have criticized aspects that demand Hamas disarmament or that do not include stronger commitments on Palestinian political rights. European capitals have urged restraint and insisted that any plan include credible humanitarian safeguards. The reported strike in Qatar and the U.S. executive action in response have also elevated concern about spillover. Other Gulf states and regional militaries are watching closely. Al Jazeera +1 What to watch next? Immediate indicators. Hamas replied to the 20-point plan. The White House stated a short deadline, 3 to 4 days from September 30th, for a response. Acceptance could open immediate mechanisms for a ceasefire and hostage exchanges, while rejection could harden military plans. Al Jazeera +1 Israeli military moves in Gaza City. Evacuation orders, corridor control, and escalation of ground operations will determine civilian displacement and humanitarian access. Yahoo News Canada humanitarian access, whether aid convoys can reach northern Gaza, and whether agencies like the Red Cross can resume operations, will be a key metric of civilian risk. Yahoo News UK regional diplomatic fallout developments such as the reported strike in Qatar and Washington. Security posture could reshape alliances and the calculus of neighboring states. AP News * as of October 1, 2025. The situation remains fluid. President Trump's 20-point plan and his public warning to Hamas have introduced a compressed diplomatic timeline, intended to force a quick decision. While Israeli forces have tightened their siege of Gaza City with increasing humanitarian costs, the interplay between diplomatic pressure, military operations, and humanitarian need will determine whether a short-term ceasefire and hostage deals are achievable, or whether the fighting and civilian suffering will intensify. Readers should expect rapid developments over the next days given the deadlines and operational tempo. The Guardian +3, Al Jazeera +3, Reuters +3,